Hi, this is Frid from The Joy of Syntax and English in Color. A few months ago, or maybe even a year ago, or I don't even remember when, I made a video about class elements. And someone recently discovered that video and posted a few questions. I strongly suspect that it was his or her homework. And I'm not in the habit of doing people's homework for them, but because I was so excited about having a fan from Pakistan, I complied with, I think it's his wishes, and wrote all the answers in the answers in the description box. Well, no, in the comment section. But I cannot use colors in that comment section, and so I decided to make a little answer video. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope that the cars aren't too noisy. I discovered that it's really lovely to sit in the backyard, or actually the front yard, and make videos. I have a very old dog who loves to be outside, and the lighting is quite good, I think. Anyway, so I'll share my screen and show you my document. Okay, this little the little task at hand was to take sentences that contain noun clauses and replace the noun clauses by nouns. Now, the problem is that often noun clauses cannot simply be replaced by nouns. And I actually also am not fond of these kinds of tasks. What I prefer is to explain to people what kind of structures there are and show those structures then, once I have explained them in context and in action, and then to let people find them, in texts that they have to read, and then play with them there. Giving people this dry task out of context is really not what I'm fond of. Anyway, so the first sentence was, I hope I shall be there in time. And I put that in parentheses because it wasn't in the original sentence. And I just wanted to remind people that this is a that clause as object, and that can be dropped sometimes. Okay, so we have a subject and a verb and an object. If you don't know my color parsing system, go back to the video on class elements. Yeah, and in this case, sometimes you can say I hope, but usually people say I hope so. That's idiomatic. So with hope, you usually have a that clause following, or an infinitive construction, or the pronoun so. So I'm giving you here a link to Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary, and want to encourage you to look up the verb hope and to savor all the example sentences. Okay, the next sentence was, he is sure that he will win the match. Now, in this original sentence, sure that he will win the match is a subject predicative, sometimes called complement to the subject, and in traditional grammar called a predicate complement. And the head of the it's realized by an adjective phrase. The head of the phrase is the adjective sure, and it's modified by this that clause. And this that clause, yeah. So if we want to get rid of the that clause, we can't simply say he is sure, and we can't simply put a noun as modifier of sure. So we only could replace the that clause by a prepositional phrase, and then use a pronoun. So he is sure of that. That's the best I can do for that homework. If you have a better idea, contact me. I remarked that it was a fine day. And here we have another problem. To remark is usually used with direct speech as a direct object. And I gave you an example here. So in a novel, or in a dialogue or something, you might say, "Oh, I don't like that," he remarked, or something to that effect. So if we want to retain a subject verb object structure, I would say he said that. So to say something, you could also say he said that it was a nice day. He said, it's a nice day. But you can also say he said that. Okay, again, look up say and remark in Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary, for instance, and I'm not getting paid to say that, and see what kind of example sentences they provide. They don't know where he is concealed. Now, to know can have a noun phrase as answer. You can say, I don't know the answer, or I don't know that. Okay, the police must know where he is living. Now, again, this is basically the same sentence, you know. In both cases, we have a subject and a verb and a WH clause as object. A WH clause is a type of noun clause. And these types of noun clauses can be used as subjects and objects. And yeah, so it's a little bit silly to use the same kind of sentence. A little bit boring, but anyway, the police must know that. I believe what he says. Again, we have a subject and a verb and a what clause as direct object. And here we could say, I believe that, I believe it, or I believe him. But when we say I believe him, that's slightly different from I believe that. Now, I don't think that the homework required the students to use the same, to create the same sense, but to simply create the same type of grammatical structure. So here we can use, or we could also say, I believe Tom. Forgot to add that. So we could have a person in there instead of a pronoun. Okay, tell me what you think about this. To tell somebody something. So we have two objects here. One object, the indirect object, is a pronoun, and then the direct object is a what clause, a noun clause. Oh, I wonder whether, the light is getting bad. Ooh, I didn't pay attention to this because I'm looking into the camera. Oh no, the sun is coming up, which is lovely, but I wasn't visible. Now I'm not as important as the sentences. However, it's nicer like this. Okay, so this is of course has the form of a request. Grammatically speaking, we can also call it an imperative, and it could actually be an imperative depending on the situation. Okay, tell me something. So to tell somebody something, we need two objects, and in this case, we can definitely use a noun phrase. We can say, tell me your opinion, or tell me your thoughts about this. Okay, next sentence. The doctor is hopeful that she will soon recover, or that she will recover soon, I would actually say. Okay, here we have the same problem that we had with the sentence containing the adjective sure. After hopeful, we don't have noun phrases. So we can replace that clause by a prepositional phrase. And the prepositional phrase, of course, contains a noun or a noun-like structure. And in this case, it contains a noun. So of her speedy recovery is a prepositional phrase consisting of the preposition plus the noun phrase, her speedy recovery. Again, check out hopeful in this wonderful dictionary. The link is in the description box of the video where I posted the answers. I'll link to it. Okay, now I'll actually put it into the description box below this video. It is to be regretted that he retired from the world so early. Now, here is something interesting. It is a preparatory subject. Sometimes we have empty subjects and sometimes we have preparatory subjects. When I say it's 5 o'clock, and some people call that it a situational subject or an empty subject. Or when we say it's raining, that's an empty subject or a situational subject. The it is simply a grammatical subject because rain needs a subject, but there's no person creating the rain. But then then it can also be a preparatory subject. It's a grammatical subject which is a placeholder subject and points towards the true or semantic subject. And now the true subject is the that clause. That he retired from the world so early in life is to be regretted. That would be a sentence in which the semantic subject is also the grammatical subject. Now when we have the job of replacing the that clause by a pronoun or a noun phrase, then we need to actually turn the bring the pronoun or noun back to the grammatical subject position. So we can say this is to be regretted, or what I didn't put down, this fact is to be regretted, or this matter. Okay. Now, I don't believe what he says. We already had a sentence with believe. So we see this kind of homework I find really annoying for students, because if you know how to do this, you know, if you know how to do one sentence, you know how to do them all. And if you don't know how to do one, then you're stuck with the whole homework. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't have to do this kind of thing when I was a student. Hang on, my dog is in the yard, but everything is fine. You can see him there. Okay, so I don't believe what he says. We can use I don't believe that and I don't believe him. Again, different meaning. We have that further a little bit above this section here. He showed how the problem was done. Now, I don't like that sentence so much. Usually you show somebody something, so you need a second object. Sometimes you can use this. Also, you show how a problem is done. You can do that with a math problem. Otherwise, you would say he demonstrated something. Okay, so he showed us how the problem was done, and he demonstrated how the problem was done. Those sentences, I like the sentences better. But anyway, yeah, here I have, oh, I forgot to color parse that, but here I have examples of a sentence where show is followed by two noun phrases. He showed me the picture, he showed the picture to me. Remember that with show, show is one of the verbs where you can have two objects and where the indirect object can either be in between the verb and the direct object, or you can stick it behind the direct object, but then it needs a preposition, and some people then call it a prepositional object. So either he showed me the picture or he showed the picture to me. He showed his ticket at the gate. You can also have an adverbial following the object. They showed the theory to be faulty. They is the subject, showed is the verb, the theory is the object, and to be faulty is the objective predicate, sometimes called an object predicative, sometimes called a complement to the object. Okay, it seems that he is a swindler. Now, it seems is again an impersonal subject. Sometimes we could say it seems to me that he is a swindler. That's an impersonal construction. Yeah, please check out seem. If I want to retain that structure, I would simply say that the only option we have is to replace the that clause by a so, by the adverb so. It seems so. And otherwise, I would completely change the sentence and say he seems to be a swindler. He seems a swindler, but that's actually not. Yeah, I wouldn't go there. So again, I'm not so fond of this homework. He doesn't know where I live. He doesn't know that. Okay, so I don't know something. I don't know the answer. He doesn't know the answer. He doesn't know that. I could also have said the answer, but of course, then that would not be a sentence that's totally the same as the original. Tell me why you did this is the same as we had above. Tell me something, tell me that, tell me the answer to the problem. But again, that would be a different kind of sentence. It is not known who has written this book. Here we have a, here, this is interesting. We have a preparatory subject, but then who has written the book is really the true subject, which is simply placed in final position. It's not used as a modifier. So that's a different type of semantic subject than it's simply a postposed subject. So you could say who has written the book is not known, and then you can say the author of the book is not known. When if you want to replace the WH clause by a noun. Okay, here I was just playing around with something else that I actually discussed in my syntax course, which is in German still. Is not known can be considered the verb phrase, but known could also be considered an adjective as predicate complement, aka subject, predicates, subject predicative, or complement to the subject. And then, of course, you can say isn't, or you can say is not known and is unknown. So you have various ways of expressing the same thing, and then also various ways of parsing the same sentence. Remember, when we parse sentences, we're not stating an objective truth. Parsing a sentence is a subjective but very practical activity. Sometimes it's practical, not always. Okay, the law will punish whosoever is guilty. This is easy. The law will punish him, or the law will punish criminals. Okay, I hope this helped. Again, I must repeat myself. I want to repeat that I find this task silly. I'm glad I didn't have to do that homework, but well, I guess I did it, but it was all on a voluntary basis. Okay, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.